And yet, despite these warnings, Todd continued to grow in popularity. Social media adored him. Conferences sold out. Book deals and media appearances expanded his reach. But Bishop Sheard's concern wasn't about popularity. It was about sustainability and accountability. There were whispers that some of Todd's closest allies were beginning to question whether his rapid rise came at too high a cost. This section of Todd's story raises a critical question. When charisma meets influence, where is the line between bold leadership and reckless decision-making? The answer, insiders say, came into focus in moments that left even Sheard stunned. And these moments would spark conversations that rippled throughout the gospel community. It's one thing to notice reckless behavior from a distance. It's another entirely to confront it directly. Bishop J. Drew Sheard, known for his wisdom and authority within the gospel community, reportedly felt compelled to address the growing concerns with Michael Todd. Face-to-face sources say this wasn't a casual conversation. It was a serious, tense meeting between two powerful voices in modern ministry. The confrontation reportedly began with Sheard laying out his observations. The risky financial decisions, the public stunts, and the potential damage Todd's style could inflict on his congregation and the broader gospel community. Sheard's tone was reportedly firm yet measured, emphasizing guidance rather than judgment. "Michael," he said, "your platform is huge, but with great influence comes responsibility. Some of your choices are reckless, and you need to think about the consequences for you, your church, and the people who trust you." Todd, however, wasn't one to back down. Known for his charisma and confidence, he reportedly pushed back, defending his methods as innovative and necessary for reaching younger audiences. According to insiders, Todd argued that traditional approaches weren't connecting with the modern churchgoer, and his bold style, while risky, was producing results that spoke for themselves. The clash wasn't just generational, it was philosophical. Todd represented a new wave of ministry that prioritized engagement and relatability, while Sheard represented experience, caution, and legacy. What made the confrontation even more explosive were the private revelations that followed. Some insiders claimed that Todd admitted to feeling the pressure of expectation, both from his congregation and the public eye. He confessed that balancing authenticity, ministry, and public perception was more difficult than most realized. Sheard reportedly recognized the honesty in Todd's admission, but also warned that unbridled ambition could spiral into controversy if left unchecked. The fallout was immediate, though subtle at first. While Todd continued to grow in popularity, whispers began circulating among pastors and ministry insiders. Social media began to amplify every minor misstep, and each publicized event or sermon was scrutinized through a lens of accountability. For the first time, Todd's choices weren't just bold, they were being questioned. Fans noticed, critics highlighted, and some allies started to reevaluate their support. And yet, despite the tension, there was also respect. Bishop Sheard, even in disagreement, recognized Todd's passion and reach. He reportedly continued to mentor and offer guidance where possible, understanding that true influence required balance, boldness tempered with wisdom. But the story doesn't end there. The moments following this confrontation would shock both supporters and critics alike, exposing decisions and revelations that the public wasn't prepared to see. After the private confrontation between Bishop J. Drew Sheard and Michael Todd, the ripple effects didn't stay behind closed doors for long. As Todd continued to expand his ministry, every decision, every sermon clip, and every public statement came under a microscope. Social media, the double-edged sword that had fueled his rise, now amplified criticism as quickly as praise. Fans who once admired Todd's boldness began questioning whether some of his actions were irresponsible. Was the flashy production and sermons overshadowing the spiritual message? Were certain financial ventures too risky for a ministry that depended on the trust of thousands? Influencers in the gospel space, many of whom had previously lauded Todd's innovation, started to voice concern in subtle ways, sparking debates across online platforms. The backlash was not limited to followers. Fellow pastors and ministry leaders began weighing in. Some offered support privately, recognizing the difficulty of leading a modern congregation, while others openly criticized his approach, calling attention to what they perceived as recklessness. Bishop Sheard's warnings, once private, began to feel prophetic to some observers as controversies and missteps were dissected publicly. One particularly tense moment reportedly involved a sermon series that Todd delivered, which included unconventional interpretations of Scripture paired with high-energy theatrics clips went viral online. And while many younger viewers praised the creativity, older pastors and church leaders expressed concern that the spectacle risked overshadowing the core spiritual teachings. Social media erupted with debates, trending hashtags, and commentary that put Todd squarely in the center of both admiration and scrutiny. The church community itself also felt the tension. Some congregation members who had followed Todd since the early days began questioning the leadership decisions, while newer members were drawn to the excitement and relatability he brought. The result was a complex dynamic. Todd's ministry was growing, yet it was also walking a tightrope where each choice could either strengthen or erode trust. And the drama didn't end there. Reports surfaced that Todd faced internal challenges within his church staff. Loyal aides reportedly struggled with the fast pace of expansion and the controversial decisions that drew attention outside the church walls. Bishop Sheard's concerns now seemed eerily prescient, and the gospel world watched closely as Todd navigated criticism from multiple fronts. But what many didn't see was how Todd handled this pressure behind the camera. Despite public criticism, he reportedly spent countless hours reflecting on Sheard's words, analyzing the backlash, and making strategic decisions to both defend and protect his ministry. The balance between charisma, influence, and responsibility was becoming a daily test, and one misstep could escalate into full-blown controversy. And this is where it gets truly unbelievable. While Todd managed to maintain his public image, some of the private choices he made during this period, decisions that only insiders knew about, would later shock even his closest allies. These revelations would challenge everything people thought they knew about him, and expose the tension between ambition, accountability, and faith in ways no one expected. The storm that followed Michael Todd's series of bold choices, combined with Bishop J. Drew Sheard's warnings, eventually led to a moment of reckoning, a period where the consequences of decisions, both public and private, could no longer be ignored. While Todd continued to lead his congregation and inspire millions, insiders report that the weight of scrutiny and self-reflection began to shape his perspective in profound ways. Financially, the church remained strong, but the media attention surrounding every announcement, partnership, and public statement made it clear that the era of unchecked boldness was over. Social media, once a tool to amplify his message, became a mirror reflecting both praise and criticism, forcing Todd to confront the fact that influence is inseparable from accountability. The confrontation with Bishop Sheard, once tense and private, became a cornerstone of Todd's personal reflection. Sources say that Todd began to internalize Sheard's counsel more deeply, recognizing that mentorship is not limitation, it is guidance. The advice to balance charisma with responsibility, risk with foresight, and spectacle with substance became a daily compass. Todd reportedly started making strategic adjustments, not abandoning boldness but tempering it with wisdom that only experience can teach. Yet the story is more than just reputation management. It's a lesson about leadership, vulnerability, and growth. Todd's journey illustrates the precarious balance between innovation and recklessness, showing that even the most gifted leaders are not immune to missteps. The gospel community watched closely as he navigated these waters, learning alongside him about resilience, humility, and the importance of counsel from seasoned voices like Sheard. But perhaps the most shocking revelations were the human ones. Todd reportedly admitted privately to moments of fear, doubt, and even regret, feelings that fans rarely associate with a pastor who exudes confidence on stage. These admissions highlight a truth often overlooked in ministry. Behind every powerful message is a person grappling with choices, consequences, and the responsibility of influence. By the time the dust settled, two things were clear. First, Michael Todd remains a force in modern ministry, capable of inspiring millions and challenging traditional norms. Second, the warnings from Bishop J. Drew. Sheard serve as a reminder that even the brightest lights must heed the guidance of those who have walked the path. Before boldness without accountability, charisma without reflection, is a risk every leader must weigh. As viewers, the story leaves us with questions to ponder. How do we balance ambition with responsibility? How do we navigate influence without losing sight of integrity? And perhaps most importantly, how do we learn from the successes and missteps of those we admire? The journey of Michael Todd, under the watchful eye of Bishop Sheard, is far from over. But the lessons, the revelations, and the moments of reckoning are already shaping the future of modern ministry. And they challenge each of us to reflect on what leadership, faith, and responsibility truly mean.